Okay, now it's time to start sewing. What I did, which I completely forgot to show, was I just did a stitch along here, 1/8 of an inch seam allowance, and I just stitched the pleating. It holds it in place, and it means you can free up not having to have pins in there to sew over. Now what we want to do is stitch the top strip to the outer piece. We want the longest side, not the shortest, but the longest side face down, so right sides together, and you can either pin them, clip them, or stitch freehand. I don't pin everything, perhaps I should, but I don't. We're going at 1/4 inch seam allowance, and then it's just a regular straight stitch all the way along. We do both pieces. Oops, exactly the same. So that's both pieces stitched, and then we want to fold it over with the seam allowance facing that way. And you can either finger press or press with an iron. I do like to press with an iron to get a very good flat surface. We do it with both pieces because we're going to top stitch along the top of the band at the bottom. And I'm going to swap machines because I have different threads set up on different machines. Excuse the different angles on the video, but with different machines I've got to have the video in different places, the video camera should I say. So I'm going to now top stitch along the bottom of the top band. Both pieces top stitched along the very bottom. Now that it is nice to top stitch, not everyone does top stitch, but it really does make a difference to the finish of your bags. So if you're happy to top stitch and you have the confidence, please do so, because it will be worth it. Okay, back to my other machine with the blue thread on. Now we're going to stitch the two outer pieces together. Again, the straight stitch and a 1/4 inch seam allowance again, and I will just clip certain parts because it's quite a big piece to go astray on. The one thing I want to show you is this side looks like there's too much fabric on the other side, when in fact there isn't. It's because of the pleat. So if you find that you have quite an overhang, just pull it in a little bit. Start at the bottom and work upwards. And then you know you've got the pleat in that's okay, and you haven't stretched it out, and it's all fine to go. So as I said, the very top has about 1 centimetre of straight, then it comes down at the diagonal, so make sure you incorporate that straight bit. And then you want to turn your fabric slightly. Don't forget, as you get towards the top, you've got that 1 centimetre of straight stitching to do. And that's it. You've got your two sides sewn together. And then just at the top, press the seams open. It will come, it'll be helpful when you've joined the two pieces together. So the corners need to be boxed off next. And put your hand inside, and you want to feel for the seams to meet underneath and on the top. So just have a feel. And then when you feel you might have it correct, just check inside. And slightly over. So quite fiddly. You have to make sure you really want it to be exact. You don't want seams that aren't lined up because it doesn't look very nice. So once you feel like you might have the seam correct, get your pins. And I like to put one across at the bottom and then two higher up. And then again, I'm going to look inside to make sure the seam's still lined up, which it is. And then you want to measure 2.5 inches in from the tip. If you open up your seams, you can iron them up open if you want to, but I just press open, and the tip is just about there. And I get my ruler, and it's got a lovely 2.5 inch mark. Make sure the line's going along the seam. And then I get my friction pen, or whatever pen you like to use to mark with. Draw a line across, and then I'll stitch it along. And I shall measure up the same corner and do the same thing. Okay, so I've sewn both corners, and then once you've checked that they are definitely seams matching, you cut across the corners, leaving 1/4 inch seam. And then turn your bag right side out. Push the corners out of the bag, and then you can check your seam. And also you want to check your seam at the edge to make sure that they're nicely matched, which you should have done before now actually, and I just forgot to check. So yeah, just check before you do everything else that your seams are correct there. So there's the bag in its early stages, and we're going to do the bow next.